All right, so we're diving into resilience in tech today, looking at how innovation kind of thrives on challenges. We've got two really interesting figures to help us with this. Elon Musk, obviously SpaceX and Tesla, and Reshma Saujani, who founded Girls Who Code. Two very different paths, but both showing resilience in their own way.
It is fascinating. We picture the tech industry as this like well-oiled machine.
Oh, yes,
But
hey.
uh, it's really built on setbacks
Mm.
and having to change course. And those messy moments are where the resilience comes in.
Yeah, like SpaceX in the early days. 3 rocket launches, 3 failures, almost bankrupt, just enough for one last try. I mean, talk about pressure.
Right. That's where having a long-term vision helps. Most of the space industry at the time, they were focused on small improvements. Musk wanted to make space travel accessible, not just for governments and billionaires, but for everyone. That's a big goal, and it kept him going through those early
It was
failures.
like those failures made him even more determined. He had this clear goal,
Mm.
and he wasn't going to let anything stop him. And it wasn't just him. He talks a lot about the importance of his team.
Right, a passionate team is so important. It's not just people working together. They all have to believe in the mission. That energy can get you through anything. Have you ever been part of a team like that, where the passion helped you overcome obstacles?
Oh, absolutely. It's an amazing feeling. And you see that same why driving Reshma Saujani and Girls Who Code? You wouldn't think something like encouraging girls to code would be controversial.
You'd be surprised. There was a lot of skepticism at first. People questioned if girls were even interested. Some saw it as just this niche thing. But for Saujani, it wasn't about proving people wrong. It was about the impact on those individual girls, opening up possibilities they might not have considered.
Yeah, and her whole idea of bravery, not perfection, is so powerful. I mean, haven't we all felt held back by that fear of not being good enough?
Yeah, it's common. And Saujani's approach is so insightful. Perfectionism can paralyze you. You're so afraid to make a mistake. Bravery is about taking action. Even if you don't know how it'll turn out, it's about recognizing failure as part of the process and learning from those experiences.
It's like instead of what if I fail, you ask, what if I succeed?
Exactly. That change in perspective can be so freeing. You focus on what's possible, not the
Yeah.
potential problems.
Right. You don't get bogged down on the what ifs, you just go for it.
Exactly. And that's a big part of resilience.
That's a great point. It reminds me of this thing a mentor told me. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, something we all need to hear sometimes. But going back to that bravery thing, that ties in so closely to resilience.
Absolutely. But it's not always about those huge stories of overcoming massive failures. It shows up in our daily lives too, like those times you doubt yourself
Yeah.
or you hit a wall on a project and just want to give up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I was actually just reading an article about how even really experienced developers deal with imposter syndrome.
It's way more common than people realize. Those feelings of not being good enough, questioning your abilities, those are all chances to practice resilience.
So, how do we do that? How do we build that resilience muscle for everyday challenges?
Well, if we look at Musk and Saujani, one thing they have in common is that really strong belief in a larger purpose. For Musk, it was changing space travel. For Saujani, it was breaking down barriers for girls in tech. That sense of purpose, that why we talked about, it becomes like your guide, helps you through those tough times.
So, it's not just pushing through for the sake of it, it's about connecting to something bigger.
Exactly. It's about finding that thing that makes you say, this is worth it, even when it's hard. I think that resonates with everyone, whether you're launching rockets or, writing code. We all have things we're passionate about. And resilience helps us keep going, even when it feels impossible.
Like that saying, life is a marathon, not a sprint. You need resilience to keep going when you just want to quit, but what about when you feel stuck? How do you even start building that resilience?
That's a great question. And I think the first thing is recognizing that resilience isn't something you just have or don't have. You build it over time. It's a practice. Like anything else, you have to work at it. It's about pushing yourself, embracing challenges as chances to grow, learning from your mistakes.
So we should almost look forward to failure as a way to learn and get better.
Exactly. Like Thomas Edison said, I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That's the kind of mindset you need. Reframing failure as a step towards success. That's resilience. And we can all develop that with practice. Think about a time you faced a setback in your own work.
Well, there was this one project, a really complicated software build. I felt so overwhelmed. I was sure I was going to fail.
And what happened?
Well, I stepped back for a minute, broke the project down into smaller pieces, and just focused on one step at a time.
And that's resilience in action. You didn't let that fear stop you. You recognized the challenge, changed your approach.
And kept going. It's amazing how much easier things get when you break them down like that. Sometimes you just get so focused on the big picture, you forget about those little steps.
Yeah, it's true. We think of resilience as this big, heroic thing, but it's really about those everyday choices, those small acts of courage
Yeah.
that help you deal with challenges and keep going.
So if we're trying to be more resilient, both ourselves and the teams we lead, what are some of the key things we can learn from Musk and Sojani?
I think the biggest thing is having that clear why. Like we talk about, they were both driven by this strong sense of purpose.
Yeah.
When you know why you're doing something, it's so much easier to push through those setbacks.
And it's not just about having it in your own head, right? You got to communicate it to your team, make sure everyone on the same page and connected to that bigger purpose.
Absolutely. Shared passion is so powerful, especially when things get tough. And the other big takeaway is embracing bravery over perfectionism. That's such a powerful message from Sojani. It lets us let go of that need to be perfect and focus on just having the courage to try, experiment, and learn from our mistakes.
It's that shift from what if I fail to what if I succeed? And I
Yeah.
think that applies to so much more than just tech.
It's universal. A
Yeah.
challenging project at work, learning something new, even just dealing with everyday life. That ability to choose bravery over perfectionism, it's essential for being resilient.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into resilience in the tech world, we want to leave you with something to think about.
Yeah, think about one area in your life where maybe you could use a little more of that bravery over perfectionism.
Yeah.
What have you been putting off? Because you're afraid of not being good enough?
Maybe it's a project you're hesitant to start, a skill you want to learn, even just a conversation you've been avoiding. Whatever it is, remember those moments of hesitation. They're actually chances to practice resilience, to say, okay, I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Because that's how we grow. That's how we learn. And that's how we become more resilient. Not by avoiding challenges, but by facing them head on.
And who knows, you might even discover a strength you didn't know you had. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing those boundaries.